So my name is Jessica Stone, and I'm a recruiter with Hexagon's PPM division. We build engineering design software, and the formal information of what we do is we take unstructured information and we turn that into visualizations and building and management of complex facilities is ultimately what the software does. Um, Basically, that is an interesting way to just let you know that our software was most likely involved in processing of at least one material included in anything that you see around you. So if you have a plastic straw or a stainless steel cup, or if you're sitting outside and you have some patio furniture or something like that, if it went through a factory, then most likely that factory was built using our software. So that kind of gives you a little bit more of a realistic look into what engineering design software from Hexagon's PPM division does. Today's Tech Talk is mainly focused on development and data analytics. The majority of jobs that we recruit for, especially at the college level, they're mainly development. We're moving more into data analytics, but truly the core of what we do as a software company is we look for developers. So like most companies right now, we are kind of on a pause when it comes to hiring. Because of this wonderful thing that we're all learning about, COVID-19. But in the future, we are going to be looking for developers. Outside of development, we look for sales, marketing, like I mentioned, business analytics, interns, full-time, and all of those different areas. And two specific areas where we look for are, in addition, Salesforce administration. So if y'all have ever had or know anyone with Salesforce, that's something that is not a very common term you see at the entry level, but we look for those as well as engineers. I do want to make just a slight comment on engineers. We are a software company, so if you are an engineer and you are looking for something that's hands-on, we don't do that. We actually don't touch anything that our software is going to build. So we're looking more for engineers who are more focused on the 3D simulation, modeling and design side of engineering, that conceptual type. But we're looking for anybody for those jobs that are going to help us disrupt our industry for the better, and just really give us that competitive advantage, because as a software company, we're not like manufacturing, where we have robots coming to help us build our products. Our core focus is on people, and that's because without our people, we would not have our company. So specifically about our division, I wanted to mention that our global headquarters is in Huntsville, Alabama. If y'all aren't familiar with that, it's about four and a half hours away from the Auburn campus. It's at North Alabama, give or take about 30 minutes from the Tennessee line. But in the U.S., we also have offices in Atlanta, Georgia, Houston, Texas, Hampton, Virginia, Salt Lake City, Utah, and Broomfield, Colorado, which is right outside of Denver. But the interesting thing about us is outside of the U.S., we are a global company, and we're in over 50 countries, have about 3,000 employees around the world. So someone described us once as we're the big business that you've never heard of. So that's really how we define our company globally. Specific to Huntsville, where we do the majority of our U.S. hiring, recently we moved into a $60 million with an M dollar office with a completely open floor plan, which we are not working at right now. Obviously, I am at my home, as so are the other two presenters. But it is a very dynamic building, and if you want a virtual tour of that, you can definitely reach out to Auburn, and they can give you our information, and you can let us know. But it is on our website if you want to go look at that. And then just a couple things, just about what we do as far as hiring, and then some benefits and things that we offer. We really have a focus on diversity. And when it comes to diversity, Huntsville is a very, very aggregated environment and a very diverse city. But in our office specifically, on any given day, you're going to see about 15 to 20 nationalities just in our office. So the influence and cultures that you see is very dynamic, and it's an awesome thing to be able to experience when we're in the office every day. We also have a HYPE group, so that's HYPE. And what it stands for is Helping Young Professionals Excel. So it is our young professionals organization, both of which James and Maggie are a part of. And basically what that does is we try to get together quarterly and really just try to just enjoy each other's company as young professionals and in the workplace. It's not necessarily for networking or it's really about getting to know each other and likes and dislikes and going out, whether it's to Top Golf or we had an event at one of our local breweries where we did a game night, a board game night. So it's just fun things like that to really immerse our new college grads into our company so they can meet other people outside of their team, because we know that you're going to be with your teammates every day. And of course, we hope that you enjoy working on your team, but it's nice to have that camaraderie outside of your team where you work every day. Another thing that we offer for any of you that are extremely ambitious and thinking about going back and getting that next level degree, we do offer options for tuition reimbursement. And with the tuition reimbursement, of course, there's all the legal things. You have to, be a full-time employee, and you have to apply and make sure it's approved and all that. But the main thing is that if you keep your grades up, you get reimbursed for that. And it really is helpful for you wanting to take that next step while also being employed and benefiting the company as well. I personally have been at Hexagon for 2 years. I've been doing recruitment for the 2 years I've been here. My background is actually government contracting, which, if you're familiar with Huntsville, government contracting is a very big thing here. Most of the companies in Huntsville have some support of our government, but at Hexagon's PPM division, we're actually commercial. So we actually don't do security clearances, or we're not on the arsenal or anything like that. So it was a big switch for me mentally to come over to a commercial company, but I have loved it. It's a night and day shift, if you ask me. And I really just encourage you to reach out to us, connect with us on social media so you can see a little bit more about what we're doing and kind of right now how we're navigating through COVID-19 at the moment. And our social media is global, so you're actually going to get a glimpse into what's available globally for everyone, seeing the faces of our employees throughout the world. And then if you have any other questions or want to connect, I'm going to go ahead and give you the email address that you can send to, and that's careers.ppm@hexagon.com. So that's kind of the little intro, all the fun, normal Q&A period questions. So now I'm going to hand it over to James Daniel, and he is going to give you a little more information on development and what it's like for a software developer.
Hi, everyone. I'm hoping you can see the PowerPoint. Jessica, let me know if you cannot.
Nope,
Okay. So my name is James Daniel. I'm going to take you through a day in the life of a developer at Hexagon PPM. To give you a little bit of background about myself, I graduated from Auburn in 2016 with a bachelor's in software engineering. And I had put my resume out on Handshake. Hexagon was one of the companies that reached out. And after going in for an interview, I started working as a support analyst, which was not what I originally thought I was going to do after graduating. But I loved it. It was a super fun job. I'd picked up a trainer position on top of that. It gave me lots of experience working with the customer, seeing how they view our products, getting a chance to glimpse at their overall workflows. And then Jessica mentioned earlier that we hire for the person, which is huge at Hexagon. Lots of the teams will look at someone who's not just good at coding or development, but how they'll fit in with the team and the overall environment at Hexagon. And so I was able to go to talk to HR and said, hey, I'm missing development. I'm missing doing the designing and the building. And they got me in contact with one of the development managers at Hexagon. And I moved over to a development team called Kayaks. So they were really helpful, and they would much rather people do something they enjoy and stay at Hexagon. So that was pretty huge for me. So I'm still there now. I've been on this development team for about a year and a half, working on one of our biggest products called Smart 3D. Now, because this is our biggest product, we have about 30 plus teams worldwide working on it. So one of the big parts of my day as a developer is working with these other teams. So both my team and globally coordinating is huge. So with my own personal team, we use Scrum. So every day we'll have our stand up, and I'm assuming you know what that is, but just in case you don't, it's where you get to come together and you say, here's what I did the previous day, here's what I'm going to do today, and here's what troubles I'm facing. And it gives you a great chance to talk through, bring up any issues you may have. And lots of times, right after that, it'll spawn off sub conversations about, hey, do we really want to approach it that way? Or, hey, I know you're facing this issue. Let's talk about this a little bit more. And that's one of the reasons this open concept is really nice. No one has an office. So the way that Scrum teams are set up is all your desks are either connected or mostly connected in subgroups, and you're kind of walled off with these not fully walls but whiteboards. So all of your work with your team, you don't really have to go anywhere for. I don't have a picture of one of the bays, but it's right behind some of these meeting rooms in the picture. And you can just stand up at your desk, and without raising my voice or shouting, I can easily speak to anyone on my team to quickly sort something out. And if it ends up being a bigger discussion, or if we need to draw out a design or architect something or draw out a workflow and say, okay, does this make sense? How should we change it? We have the whiteboard surrounding us where we can easily work that out. So it makes the team coordination really easy. Coordinating with the other teams at the office is another big thing. So all throughout our floor, we have countless meeting rooms. So some are small, like this one, which can house 2 to 3 people. You can cram more in there, but it's built for 2 to 3 people, has a TV that you can plug into. This area, we do lots of our meetings there, has a TV where 4 people can plug into. All the cords are hidden in the desk. And then back here is a bigger meeting room and another behind it that can both fit in 10 to 20 people. Once again, they have the TV, they have a video camera where you can do video chat with other teams. And then on top of that, sometimes you don't need a huge meeting. Sometimes you just need to work with a developer on another team. Because with big products, I'm sure you've all worked on school projects where, there's 3 or 4 people working together, which is a great experience for working with a team. But you'll also have to work on products like Smart 3D, for example, which have multiple teams. So one thing we do is I'll shoot someone a quick Teams message, go pull up to their desk, because we're both building 2 pieces of this product, and we want to make sure they're not going to clash, they're going to work well together. And everyone's desk has a little filing cabinet, so you can just pull it out, has a chair on top, and sit down and easily work together. So the whole design behind everything at Huntsville, or at least at Huntsville's campus, is working together in this coordinate, where it's always easy to find who you're needing to talk to, work it out with them. And then there's also the global aspect that comes into the picture with bigger things like Smart 3D. So we'll have a kind of like a stand up for some of the teams on Friday mornings where we get the groups from, like, India and Germany and UK and all these other countries. We'll all get to come together and we'll talk about how our pieces are working together, what workflows we're expecting, making sure everything's accounted for, no one's doubling up work. Maybe we need to redesign something. So this is a large portion of my day, is making sure that we're all working together. How development works from a single person standpoint is we have items that are filed by either the business people or support people who are working with directly with customers, or anyone else who is basically going to say, here's what we want to add to the product, here's some new functionality, here's something we want to change, here's something that's broken, or here's something we want to research. And they'll give it to us from the customer standpoint or from the business standpoint. And then as a developer, we then go around and analyze it and say, how are we actually going to implement this? Great, you want this new functionality. What does that require on us? Do we need to design a whole new piece of architecture? Do we need to just change some existing code? Can we just add in a new custom command? Whatever it may be, we have to determine not only the scope of it, but also the specific steps to do that. And there's a lot that goes into that process, where every company, has their own process. But since we use Scrum, we have pointing of items. We determine how difficult an item's going to be. We determine the steps to solve it before we start working on it. And sometimes that's a lot to do. Sometimes you just need to get a break from the office. You need to just take a step out and just refresh your mind. So there's a lot of stuff on our campus that we as developers or anyone in the campus takes advantage of. Lots of times we'll go take a walk around the lake. There's a pool table and ping pong table downstairs. And it doesn't just have to be a break from work, but there is also a gym to the side, which has, classes every day and sports every day. And one of the big things I've noticed is that I made lots of relationships through some of the daily sports games. They'll have basketball on Monday and Wednesdays and different sports at different times, where you can just get to know people at the office outside of the work environment. And that's really cool, because when I go to work with somebody, there's now a relationship there, more than just, I need you to work on this specific piece, or I need to have the specific piece. There's actually some camaraderie, some friendship. It just makes work more enjoyable. And like I was saying, not everything is just a break from work. We'll have meetings sometimes where we're discussing something and hashing something out just as a walk around the lake, throwing ideas off each other. And one thing that I think is pretty cool is lots of the teams will have breakfast meetings or some other kind of meeting like that, where they'll go downstairs to the cafe or the barista, grab something, and their first meeting will all just be together over breakfast. So there's lots of things that you can do, or that developers will do, to just kind of try to relieve some of the tension or pressure or whatever it may be, and just relax and enjoy developing together. That I think that's a big thing about Hexagon, is that you should enjoy working with the team you're with. You should enjoy working with the people at the company. So I do have some tips for new graduates. One is to keep an open mind when looking for jobs. Like I said, I had heard about Hexagon since I was originally from Huntsville. They were still called Intergraph at that point. And when they reached out to me, I was expecting, to be looking at another development job. Never expected support. It ended up being fantastic. I would not have changed those 2 years at all, but it's something I would have never thought of reaching out for myself. So just keep an open mind when looking for jobs. You don't know what's out there. Just try to not keep a narrow mindset of, it has to be this company, it has to be this component, it has to be whatever, because you might miss something that you'd enjoy even more. The next thing is that the environment and team dynamic are huge. I love what I do. I miss not being able to go into the office, And one of the biggest reasons is because I enjoy getting up in the morning and going to work because of my team and because of the rest of the people at the company. I find it super fun to go there. There's people I look forward to eating lunch with every day. There's people I look forward to going walk around the lake with. There's people I look forward to just working with because I know they're smart people who come up with ingenious ideas. And then my team is fantastic because we'll have stand up. I don't think I've ever walked away from stand up not just cracking up. It doesn't matter what kind of deadline we have coming up or anything, however many things are breaking, going well, it's always a good time. So while yes, I think it's important to look at the work that you're going to do when looking at potential jobs, when meeting the team, pay attention to that environment. Make sure it's going to be a good fit for you, not just something that you can get by with and that you can settle for, but try to find a team that works with your dynamic. And then the last thing is just seek experience in addition to knowledge. It's always great that you know more. It's always great that you can put more on your resume under the knowledge and skills. But one thing that at least I and my team have looked for in the past is what have you actually done with that knowledge? Because doing something with that knowledge shows us that one, you've had a chance to ingrain some of it. You've had to delve into other topics further because not everything's just going to be the surface level knowledge that you've learned. And then third is that you enjoy doing it. If you work on stuff outside of just your schoolwork, it's going to show us that you actually like this enough to do it in your free time, or you actually have a vested interest to do it in your free time. So it's probably going to mean that you're going to like working on it at work, which is important. Like I said, my team loves working together, and it's because we all love what we do. So those are my top 3 tips for you. Are there any questions before I hand it over? I don't know if Jessica, you were doing the questions or had told them about that, or.
Yeah, so I actually did forget to mention that at the beginning. If you have any questions, you should see a chat icon. It looks like a little text message icon. If you have any questions, just feel free to chat those in. We will be taking just a short Q&A session after Maggie presents. So if you have any questions, just chat those there. Maggie, go ahead with yours. You can kick yours off.
Go ahead and share. Can you see my slideshow?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So James already touched on a lot of similar things that I go through day to day in terms of Scrum, stand up, the building. He talked a lot about that. So I will go ahead and just say one of his tips was to like work somewhere that you love and with people that you love. And so that was kind of what drew me to Hexagon. When I applied for the job, I was just applying for every internship that I met the requirements for, and I had never really expected to hear back from a lot of them. But then once I worked at Hexagon, I knew I was in it for the long run, and so I'm still here today. And then, so I'm Maggie. I attended Auburn in the business school, and I graduated just this past May 2020, and I studied business analytics. And I began working for Hexagon in May of 2019 as a data analyst intern. I interned with them actually for the whole year. After the summer ended, I interned from Auburn, just online. So I'm pretty used to working from home. And then I will start full-time this summer. So my job is to analyze the telemetry data that we receive from different products and customers and make reports on the data. So James mentioned Smart 3D, and so we get data from Smart 3D and the things that they run, and then we turn that data into a report that is viewable, and it's not just raw data. So the goal of the report is to be easily and quickly read by product owners and other members of the business so that they can kind of see what's going right, what's going wrong, what they need to change, all sorts of different things. We've created, right now, I think we've published around 20 reports, and we're working on more every day. So what software do I use, and like what did I learn when I was in Auburn? So on a daily basis, I use Tableau as my reporting tool. It's similar to Power BI And there's all sorts of different ones. I personally love Tableau. It's really easy for me to use. It's easy for the users to use. And we can publish all of the reports in one place. So that's really nice. I also frequently use SQL Server Management Studios. It's a SQL platform that allows me to analyze and search the data. And then another person on my team is kind of in charge of our data warehouse and our data lakes. And so we can look through the data, both of us through SQL. Okay, so I do have a few suggestions for someone interested in this field. So the 4 main softwares that data analysts use in any company are Tableau or Power BI, any sort of reporting tool, R, Python, and SQL. And so those are the main 4 softwares that most companies are looking for experience in, and Hexagon is as well. Some have other requirements like Oracle, Amazon Web Services, Google Analytics. But once you have background in those main 4 that I mentioned, it's a lot easier to learn any of the other softwares. And then some of the classes that I took at Auburn that really helped me in my data analytics, obviously business analytics 1 and 2, and those don't have prerequisites as far as I know. So anybody, even somebody in the engineering school, can take them. ISMN 3830 teaches you SQL, ISMN 5650 teaches you Python, and 5290 is R programming. And I'm pretty sure that those all have a prereq of the business analytics 1 and 2. But they're all super fun classes, and it's actually interesting. I know Python is a coding language that some engineers use as well. And so learning it from the business standpoint might be helpful for engineers, just to know there's all different ways you can use it. I had a roommate in the engineering Python class, and so she helped me with things. I helped her with things. We were learning the same language, but in slightly different ways. And then my other tip is to apply to be an intern at any place that interests you, even places that don't interest you. I will admit that when I first applied for Hexagon, looking at things like ships and factories was not exactly what I was interested in. But once I got there, like, I really love the environment. I love the people that I work with. My team goes and eats lunch together in the cafe every day. And you would think maybe like a cafeteria at your workplace would not have really good food, but the food is amazing, and it's not super expensive or anything. They have buffalo chicken wraps every Friday, so that's the day that I buy lunch every day or every Friday. But it's really just an awesome place to work. And when I first started working there, I was like, I'm going to do this for the summer, and then I'll have that experience on my resume, and then I'll go work at my dream job, But this turned out to be my dream job because I love the people I work with. It's in the town I grew up in, so I can live close to my family. But just keep applying for internships. It is really discouraging sometimes when you apply and you don't hear back. I mentioned here, I applied to over 70 internships, and I only got interviewed probably for about 10 of them. I had taken my resume to the resume building workshops that Auburn offers, which is super helpful, because when you look at a resume that's done poorly, it does kind of, no matter how smart the person is, turns you off a little bit. So that's something that also is helpful, but just keep applying. Don't get discouraged, and don't only apply for the one company, kind of like James mentioned. I had a dream company that I wanted to work for. I applied for them. I applied for like 4 or 5 different jobs with them because I was like, I'll take anything. But it didn't work out. But I really have loved Hexagon and everything that they've offered me. And so I have just a slide about questions, I guess. You guys are going to chat those in. And then this is just a picture about some different aspects of big data analytics. So I'll go ahead and open it up for questions, I guess.
Thank you, Maggie. I definitely appreciate you and James being willing to present just a little bit about your work lives. I haven't received any chatted questions. So since I didn't get any chatted questions in, we will just go ahead and give you an extra 30 minutes back into your day, or the afternoon, I guess. If you do have any questions, oh wait, we did get one in. Was there any training offered for you? So I'll let both you and James, Maggie answer that question as far as on-the-job training.
I can go ahead and speak a little bit. So my team trained me most of the way. I came in and I had mostly learned Power BI. I didn't really know Tableau as well. And so my supervisor helped me learn Tableau, and she was learning it as well, actually. So most of my training just came with day-to-day experience and asking questions from my manager, my supervisor, other people on the team. Stand-up was a great place to ask questions and learn things, but there wasn't any formal training.
So, and from a development side, there's definitely training there. If you're brought in knowing Java and we're using C#, or if you're brought in knowing whatever language and it's closely related enough that they say that you'll pick it up easily, we have Udemy and other things that the company provides to easily pick those up. And then there is also formal kind of on-the-job training with the development side of you're being added to a team that's working on, I think my team covers at least 1 million lines of code, if not much more. And we're just one of, 30 teams, and all these teams kind of overlap in some areas, have their own unique points. There's no way you can learn that on your own. So we have people that'll walk you through it. That'll take you through some of the main points of the software, take you through some of the main points of the code, and then just each new item is another chance for you to learn. I've been on the team for 1.5 years, and there's still times every week where I have to say, okay, this is something I didn't even know our product did, or this is something I've never done with databases before. And yeah, the entire environment at Hexagon is very much about we're willing to help you if you're willing to learn. So there is some formal training, but lots of it's just every time you come across something new, it's learning again.
Thank you both for that. We did get one more question. I think it's more so for the recruiting side. The question is careers.ppm@hexagon.com the best way to reach out about summer internships and co-op opportunities? You can definitely email that address to find out about the internships and co-ops. The best way to keep in touch, though, about that is to keep an eye on our website, and then also feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. We normally post there in both places about the opportunities. We don't necessarily differentiate between internships and co-ops. For us, we do just call them interns, and they're not a traditional co-op in the way that most universities title them. They're not work a semester, off a semester for school. It's mainly, we mainly start our internships in the summer. And if there's the potential and availability to continue that on further throughout the semester, then that's just something that we work with if that is an option. There is another question that came in. What are the major differences you observed between class projects and industry projects? So James, we'll start with you this time.
Okay. The two biggest differences are the scope of the project and the lifetime of the project. And why those are important is because when you're working on a class project, it only has to work for a week. And so your design decisions are based on what can I get to work and what will get me the A. You're not worried about performance. You're not worried about a month from now when you build onto this. You're worried about just what's going to work right now. So that brings up a lot more design and architecture stuff that isn't covered in your normal projects. And then the other thing is the scope of it. You have to work with a lot more moving pieces. So it's not necessarily going to be more difficult. It's just going to be more that you have to be aware of and take into account when you're designing your code.
Yeah, so for me, it's similar. Some of the class projects that we did were building reports. And then I'm basically doing the same thing, but I know that the report has to be accurate. With class, if you get some of the data wrong, it's fine, but there's just more on the line. And then the data sets that we used in class, a lot of times were a lot cleaner than they are. So that was one thing that it was new to me, was cleaning the data and making sure it was ready to be turned into a report, whereas in class the teacher gives you a clean data set. But other than that, it's pretty similar for me because I'm doing the same things. It's just like James mentioned, a few more things you have to be aware of.
Thank you both for that one. I didn't receive any additional questions, so I definitely encourage, wait, there's one more. Sorry. How important is documentation in your projects? Either one of y'all could.
I don't really have documentation that I really know of. We do keep track of the reports, but I guess the reports are the documentation. We publish those. So that's it for me. I'm not sure about development.
For development, we follow the same standards in some aspects that I'm sure y'all follow now. If you use Visual Studio or anything else like that, you'll get a little ding that basically says, hey, you have a public method or public API that you haven't put documentation out for. So in our code, we use the standard documentation. And there's a book called Clean Code that anyone who here is a developer, I recommend you at least check out. And basically the idea is if your code is perfect, it won't need any documentation. You can just read the code as is, but the fact is none of us are that good. So putting comments in our code is huge because once again, you're touching enormous amounts of files, and some of the files I've touched, I think I was working on a file yesterday that hadn't been touched since 2004. So it's not just something that you can go ask and say, hey, you worked on this last week. Can you explain this piece to me? Or what was the reasoning behind this certain design choice that doesn't make sense now? So it's really important that we document. And then also lots of our decisions will go out into impact statements that we'll send to other teams that are using the APIs that we build or that are going to build on top of any kind of code we put out there that they're already using and that we're changing. We need to send statements for that. So documentation is huge. And then every time we complete an item, we put out how did we solve it? Why did we solve it like this? And then here are the files we changed in case we need to roll it back or find a different solution. So yeah, it is extremely important.
Thank you both again for that. So let's see if I can go 3 for 3 now. Okay. How is the management relationship between you and your manager?
So I work closely. I have 2 managers. I guess it's probably not exactly their titles, but 2 higher ups that I work very closely with. We have meetings at least once a week. It's been a little different right now with COVID, but they are often at stand-up. I can ask them questions if I need to. I have lots of questions, so you can message them through Teams, email them. Yeah, I have a great relationship with my managers, and they're always more than willing to help you with anything. They hired you for a reason, so that's my experience.
Yeah, I gotta agree. The relationship is pretty fantastic. Hexagon has a few things in place where instead of like end of the year reviews that you might be used to with your co-op or whatever, we don't have any of that. We have something called 30 by 30. So every 30 days, and it's up to the employee to do it, not the manager. The employee just says, hey, let's take 30 minutes, and you send a meeting invite. The manager will meet with you. And it can go longer than that, but it's just a thing that every 30 minutes or every 30 days, at bare minimum, you get 30 minutes with your manager where you can just say, hey, what am I doing well? What am I doing wrong? So that's nice. And then also lots of the managers there are, I mean, it's that environment, that community, so they're all friendly as well. And I'm lucky that my manager actually sits with our Scrum team, so I have a really good relationship with them. And it's, I will say my manager is probably one of the busier ones in the company right now. So we don't have as much time with him, but he's still there for stand up, still joking with us, still just another part of the team.
Yeah, the 30 by 30 is it's an emerging concept for a lot of companies. And it, like James said, it really is supposed to be driven by the employee, and having that responsibility to, to be accountable for what you want to achieve. The goal is, especially for new grads, the way to think about it is no one cares about your career as much as you do. And that's the time when you can take with your manager and say, either what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? Where can I improve? But it's also a time for you to initiate a conversation of, I'm thinking about wanting to go this route. James mentioned he had a transition within the company from going to support back to development. That's the time for conversations like that. James mentioned he came to us in HR, but that's something where, if you're like, either I miss doing this or I want to do that, or maybe what's the next step towards a promotion to get to that next level for me? Being open, the managers are more than willing to talk to you about your advancement, because it not only is going to help them as you learn and grow, but it's also going to help the company. And one of the things that we do, we see a lot of movement within teams within the company. Like James was an example, he wanted to go do something else. He wanted to go from support to development. Or whether that's in some cases going from I want to work on Smart 3D to I want to work on Smart Sketch, which is another product that we have. There's a lot of movement, and management is very willing to try to work with you, because we don't want it to become a hindrance of, if you want to move to the next level or try something different, that you feel like you have to go to another company to be able to do that. Keeping those relationships open between your manager and HR is really important, and it can really propel you to the next level. So that was a good question to ask. So during all that, I did not get any more questions. So what we can do for now, we'll give you back 15 minutes into your day. I did record this, as I mentioned, so I will send this over to April and Hillary so they can distribute that. And I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Again, that email is careers.ppm@hexagon.com. I hope you'll have a great rest of your Monday. Thank you.